Hey, what's going on, everybody? 757 users back on the another one for scale model unboxing, and this time it's a retro plane. I typically don't buy retro planes, but this one was kind of too cool to pass up. This obviously it's the Gemini Jets, Northwest Airlines Boeing 757-300, and I believe this is the third time they've released a Northwest 757-300. There was a previous release of this in this colors a while back, and then they also had the bowling shoe livery that they released in this. So it's been a while since we've seen one of these Northwest 757s released. I know they had a red top, like chrome version of the 752 that they released a while. It's like the all red tail with nothing on it. But yeah, I originally wasn't planning on getting this. And then I saw photos of it. I'm like, okay, this thing's pretty darn cool looking. I'm a sucker, obviously, for the 757. I don't have many 757-300s in my collection. The only other one I have is the Delta 757-300. And I only have one Northwest plane in my collection, that being a Hogan 747-400. So you know what? I'm like, let's go ahead, pick it up. Spent a little bit more at DGPilot than I wanted to, but it was well worth it. This thing is so cool looking, and especially around this area. I was talking to the guys over at DG, and they said this thing has been essentially flying off the shelves there. Especially with Northwest being Minneapolis being in the former Northwest. So I have a lot of people trying to get their hands on this stuff. And plus, the Northwest livery in this version, it's one's so cool looking. I would love to see if they re-release the bowling shoe one, because I do love that bowling shoe one. If they released a 757-200 version, I probably would get it, because it's just such a cool looking livery. I wish I got the chance to see more Northwest. I obviously have seen it in Philly because I have a couple photos of them, which I gotta really dig to find those. But for some reason, my first trip when I went down to Orlando, I vividly, for some reason, remember seeing it was the bowling shoe livery, one of the tails, because I can remember seeing the little N at the top. But not a lot of memories with me with Northwest, because again, obviously in Philly, they weren't that big there. But yeah, let's go over the box. Typical Gemini Jets box here. You got the Gemini logo, 2D image of the plane, Boeing 757-300, and NWA Northwest Airlines. Going to the sides, typical Gemini box, and this was a part of that October 2025 releases. Flip it open, so you're more than welcome to read all that information up in there, and then there's where the plane's gonna sit. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. So typical Gemini blue box, all that, and then here it is, looking fantastic. Just what a unique looking plane, in my opinion. It's just such a cool looking plane. So we'll go ahead, get everything boxed up again, and then we're gonna get some close-ups here for you all. All right, we have everything unboxed here. Let's yet again remove the box out of here, and let's go to some close-ups of the plane here. So right at the top, you have your SkyTeam logo, your classic 757 nose, ship number 5807, and then that little red line is going to be your no tow line, so you can't move the nose gear past, the tow bar past that when you're pushing or towing the plane. NWA, Northwest Airlines. Then you have your boarding door, your L2 door right there as well. Your Pratt & Whitney 757 engines, 2 overwing exits. I would only assume this will be also called the mid-cabin emergency exit door, because that's what's called on the 737-900. Registration November 587, November Whiskey, the United States tail, and then you have your classic Northwest red tail here. So with the arrow pointing northwest. So look to the front of the plane. Only little thing is this gear's a little but perfect. Other than that, it's perfectly fine. Not worried about it. Going to the other side, you have your forward cargo bin door here, your nose gear doors. You have your gear doors back there. And then you have your aft cargo bin door. You have your APU hatch back there as well. Then you also do have the Gemini logo and the stand hole. So you can see here that landing gear is a little but I'm not going to mess with it. It sits perfectly fine. So if that's the only thing wrong with this plane, big whoop. But this is just such a cool looking plane. I mean, I just think the 757-300 in general is just such a unique plane, because I love seeing it here whenever they come in from Minneapolis, because since it's the winter season now, They do come in a little bit more frequent, especially from Orlando, Fort Myers. We get them from Atlanta, Phoenix, Vegas, all that type of stuff. So it's really cool seeing these 757-300s. The other cool thing with this is the winglet-less version of it. Since all of Delta 757-300s now have the winglets, it would have been really cool to be able to see this thing without the winglets, because it's just such a funky looking plane with the short wingspan and just the long fuselage of this aircraft. But a little bit about Northwest Airlines. Obviously, they merged with Delta Airlines, ceasing operation January 31st, 2010. I believe the merger was announced in 2009 when that came about. But their final hubs were Amsterdam, Detroit, Memphis, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Tokyo, Narita. So pretty cool places, obviously, with Memphis being dehubbed in favor for Atlanta, which unfortunately does make sense because, again, Atlanta just has a lot more connectivity and it's a little bit redundant with Memphis being pretty close to Atlanta. Now, regarding their fleet, though, just got to get to their page for their fleet because I don't know the exact number off of my head, but the final fleet number was 309 aircraft. Pretty retro aircraft in here. I mean, obviously the A319 and 320 and 330s, they're all modern day aircraft. And they were relatively new builds when they got them. But they still had the 747, the 757, 200, and 300. They had the 787-8s on order, which I very much remember seeing renderings of the 787 image. And then they had those DC-9s still in service, which I do remember seeing those DC-9s in Philly, which were always awesome to see. But we mainly want to talk about, obviously, the 757-300. They had 16 of these planes in service. They had a total of 224 seats, with 24 seats being business class and the rest of the aircraft being 200 seats of regular economy. So obviously with the 757-200 being the longest narrow-body aircraft in the world, they can pack a lot of people inside of these 757s. Because I believe, let me take a look at Delta's 757s right now. I believe they seat more. They're packing a little bit more people in these 300s. Just got to bring up their page real quick. But I believe, yeah, they're packing 234, so they're packing 10 more people in these things. But would love to eventually try to get on one of these 300s. Just the places that I need to go to on Delta, they just don't send them. Mainly just being Philly. Other than that, if I need to go anywhere, I'll just go on Sun Country because, again, I work for them. But yeah, I would love to get a chance to get on these 757-300s. This is just such a cool looking plane. Whenever I see them come in, I always make sure to get some photos of them. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. Again, I really highly recommend this if you're a big Delta fan, and especially if you're a Northwest Airlines fan, this is the perfect plane for you. It's just such a cool looking aircraft. And obviously if you're a fan of the 757, me being included. So again, it's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos coming out soon, and I'm going to see you all in the next one. Bye.